Today's movie unravels in a society sharply divided between two social castes, the affluent uppers and the impoverished lowers. The first scene commences with the upper class celebrating the wedding of Uma, our protagonist, and Sun. Uma, seemingly composed, retreats to the marital bedroom following the ceremony. When Sun joins her later, he's pleasantly surprised by her acceptance of him, a stark contrast to her obstinate resistance to the arranged marriage just 2 months prior. The narrative then leaps back 2 months. Uma wakes up disoriented in an unfamiliar room on a secluded island known as Paradise. She attempts to escape, but she's outwitted by Amarna, a fellow captive who tricks Uma by offering her help, only to return her to their captors. Back in the clutches of authority, Uma is introduced to the Duchess, the head of this institution. And the Duchess reveals to Uma that Paradise is a reformative facility designed for defiant young women from the upper class who've been rebelling against societal norms. And Uma's particular case was her refusal to marry Sun, a wealthy suitor chosen by her mother who was supposed to salvage their particular financially strained upper-class status. The Duchess assures Uma that her stay is temporary, a mere 2-month program intended to shape her into societal expectations. And she encourages Uma to reconsider Sun's marriage proposal, and once her stay in Paradise ends, she promises her that she can return to her upper-class life. Upon settling into her dorm at Paradise Hill, Uma strikes up friendships with her roommates. There's Chloe, sent to the facility with the aim of losing weight, and Yu, a headphone-wearing girl dealing with anxiety and panic attacks. Additionally, Uma befriends Amarna, a renowned singer relocated to Paradise following a dispute with her management. Following dinner one night, Uma and Amarna cross paths in the bathroom. Amarna explains that her earlier deception was to protect her secret smoking spot, a cave hidden from the guards. This revelation soothed over the initial tension between them, and sharing a mutual dislike for the facility, they contemplate the idea of escaping. Despite the daunting prospect of escape due to their island confinement, Uma's determination persists and Amarna agrees to help her. They then hatch a plan to meet outside Uma's room at midnight. However, their scheme doesn't really go well, as Uma was pretending to be asleep and she actually does fall asleep. And the next morning, she rushes out to apologize to Amarna, only to find out that Amarna herself also fell asleep. This puzzling occurrence sparks a suspicion that they might be getting sedated, paving the way for further investigation. And subsequently, Uma is ushered into a session of mirror therapy with the Duchess. In this therapeutic activity, she's asked introspective questions while facing a mirror, designed to make her confront her true self. But Uma resists this probing self-reflection, and she strongly criticizes her mother for sending her to Paradise, and firmly maintains her refusal to marry Sun before storming out. Later, Uma is guided to a particular room where she's affixed onto a carousel horse raised nearly to grace the ceiling. A video of Sun then starts to play, expressing why he would make an ideal match for her. Initially, Uma dismisses the video, but as it loops continuously, she spirals into an anxious and highly distressed state. Eventually, the attendants retrieve her, apologizing for not turning off the tape sooner due to some system glitch. Outraged, Uma confronts the Duchess, asserting that a video can't sway her since her heart belongs to another, a boy from the lower caste, and that relationship was one that her mother disapproved of. One afternoon, as the girls engage in making flower crowns, they share their future aspirations. Amarna yearns to escape to a place where nobody recognizes her, while Uma longs for a modest life with the boy she truly loves. During this conversation, Chloe notices Uma's memory locket, and Uma reveals a hologram of her father, explaining that this prototype was his invention and that the foundation for all current models. As Amarna tries to confront Uma by reaching for her hand, Uma abruptly withdraws upon seeing Marcus, the lower caste boy that she loves. And he's apparently all of a sudden appeared on the island. Uma seizes the opportunity to meet Marcus privately, and he reveals that her mother informed him of her whereabouts, prompting him to secure a gardening job on Paradise to stay close to her. Together, they come up with a plan to escape on a cargo boat and embark on a new life together. Marcus cleverly hacks a surveillance camera to show an empty room, ensuring their intimacy goes unnoticed. However, unbeknownst to them, Amarna was snooping around and she saw them, and she starts crying because of what she was seeing, and from this we understand that she has feelings for Uma. At dinner, Uma shares the news of Marcus's arrival with her roommates, but Amarna cautions her to stay careful, pointing out that in a place as unusual as Paradise, trust should not be freely given, even to someone as familiar as Marcus. Later that night, Uma falls asleep watching the hologram of her father, and when she wakes the next morning, she's startled to find the precious locket missing. Suddenly, an alarm goes off in the building, signaling the arrival of an unauthorized boat on the island. Uma demands an explanation, but the Duchess deflects, urging them to prepare for the day and momentarily attempting to enforce her command forcefully. Regaining her composure, the Duchess apologizes for her unusual outburst, attributing it to a momentary lapse of control before exiting the scene. And next, rumors begin to circulate throughout Paradise, spreading the notion that the individual responsible for triggering the boat alarm is an unwavering stalker who harbors an unhealthy obsession with Amarna. While she chooses not to openly challenge these speculations, Amarna confides in Uma about a hidden boat concealed within a secluded cave. She discloses that this boat serves as their means to attain freedom, a remarkable opportunity facilitated by an employee at the facility who is a fierce admirer of Amara's music. With no beach guards on night duty, Amara proposes to Uma that they seize this moment to escape together. The plan includes abstaining from the nightly milk, which they deduced contains the sedatives causing their immediate sleep. To confirm this, Amara confesses that she didn't drink the milk the previous night and managed to stay awake, witnessing the employees moving unconscious girls around and discovering Uma's missing locket by a mermaid statue on the plaza. These observations make Amara more resolute about their escape, convinced that the institution harbors darker secrets. However, an unsuspected announcement disrupts their plan. Amara has graduated early and will depart from Paradise that night. They then proceed with their plan and ingest the milk and then purge it. Amara entrusts Uma with her hairpiece, concealing a map, advising her to use the boat to escape with Marcus. Uma promises Amara that they will reunite, and then they share a kiss, cementing their romantic bond, and Amara then leaves Paradise. The following morning, Uma once again finds herself on the mechanical horse. However, the tape displayed before her changes from Sun to archived videos of her deceased father. Initially moved by the touching memories, Uma's disposition swiftly alters as the video turns into a news broadcast reporting her father offing himself following a hostile takeover of their family business. Overwhelmed by the painful reminder, she unfastens the straps and pleads for the ordeal to end. And as the horse returns her to the ground, she flees the room, and her pleas for assistance from Marcus go unheeded. This indifference by Marcus is an obvious sign that Paradise got to him too, and guards then appear and apprehend Uma and confine her to a room. A few hours later, food and milk are brought to her, which she initially resists. However, a commanding voice from an unseen speaker insists that she eats. And after consuming the milk, which predictably induces sleep, she is roused and led to a screen displaying a disturbing revelation. Amarna is back in Hollywood, a glaring betrayal of their promise to find each other. This news was very devastating to Uma, and the Duchess appears out of nowhere, startles her, and she accidentally pushes her and she falls. And even though she gets this facial wound from the fall, she proceeds unfazed, informing Uma that she's been asleep for 2 weeks and that her graduation from Paradise is scheduled the next day. Driven by a sense of urgency to evade being returned to her family, Uma leads her friends to the hidden cave. The girls recount how the guards spread a false narrative about Uma losing her sanity and damaging the horse. And in response, Uma divulged the milk trick and describes her unsettling observations on the screen, firmly believing that the individuals that they are dealing with have tampered with Amarna's behavior. Determined to escape, Uma implores her friends to accompany her, and while Chloe agrees, Yu seems hesitant. And next, Uma encounters Marcus, who expresses regret over his inability to steal a boat sooner. He assures her that his contract will end in a few days, and he promises to seek her out as soon as he departs from Paradise. She also steals the camera hacking tool for him, which she thought that she might need in order to escape. During dinner, Uma and Chloe follow their usual routine of drinking their milk only to discreetly spit it out in the bathroom. And inspired by their resilience, Yu, who was once hesitant, decides to partake in their act of defiance by also rejecting the milk. Later in their shared room, they pretend to sleep as the night shift employees conduct their rounds. Overhearing the staff, they learn that Chloe and Uma are deemed complete and that it's Yu who is left who still has a session, leading the staff to whisk her away. Once the coast was clear, Uma and Chloe get Yu's headphones and trail the employees, discovering a hidden chamber concealed behind the mermaid statue. As they infiltrate this secret space, they're horrified to find find Yu in an operating room with two medics. They spring into action and Chloe tackles the doctor who was wielding a scalpel, who then attempts to strangle her. In the ensuing struggle, Chloe manages to reclaim the scalpel and she uses it against her attacker. Meanwhile, as the second doctor tries to sedate Yu, Uma incapacitates him using a gas tank, allowing Yu to turn the tables and sedate the doctor herself. She was still dizzy from the partial sedation, but Uma and Chloe help her up and they get out of the room. Not forgetting the danger that they still face, Uma makes sure to snatch a scalpel from the table as they depart. Eventually, they stumble upon a room brimming with computers, exposing the true nature of the operation unfolding within Paradise Hills. It becomes clear that the facility's purpose wasn't to educate the girls, but rather to scrutinize and document their behavior. Shockingly, Uma discovers a recording of her intimate encounter with Marcus, revealing his deceit in collaboration with Paradise Hill. As the guards draw near, the girls hastily escape once again, finding refuge in a new room where they swiftly lock the door, leaving the pursuing guards behind. Within this room, they encounter a group of girls whose faces are concealed by bandages, and it is at this point that the horrifying truth behind Paradise Hill finally dawns on them. The institution pays individuals from lower ranks to undergo cosmetic surgery and assume the identities of the girls sent by parents. The staff meticulously studies the behavior of the original girls, aiming to replicate it as closely as possible, only making slight modifications according to the parents' desires. Subsequently, these replicated versions are deceitfully presented to the families as if the girls had genuinely learned to conform, while the real girls are actually ruthlessly eliminated. And as the duplicated Yu narrates this grim reality, the real Yu dies and the Chloe duplicate reveals herself as a slimmer counterpart to the real Chloe. Uncertain about the whereabouts of her own replica, Uma addresses them all, asserting that they can never emulate her true self, for they do not bear the burden of her father's tragic memory, nor harbor the same hatred towards Sun, the man responsible for her father's demise. As guards begin to breach the room, Uma entrusts her locket to the copies before fleeing with Chloe. They navigate through an elevator, emerging in a concealed tunnel that leads to a rose garden that have a lot of thorns. Amid their escape, Chloe lets out a piercing scream and disappears. And in a horrifying revelation, Uma understands that the sinister plants trap the girls upon the completion of their treatments. She discovers that all of their bodies, including Amara's, have been trapped by the sentient garden. And the Duchess is revealed to be a vampiric rosebush nourishing herself on Chloe while exercising her control over the plants. As Uma becomes captured in the vegetation, she's saved at the brink of death by her replica, who steps in pretending to be the real Uma. The ensuing argument between the real Uma and her replica distracts the Duchess, providing the real Uma with the opportunity to attack her with the stolen scalpel. The Duchess dies, and this triggers the collapse of the tunnel, and the girls make a dash to find a boat, eventually encountering Marcus. Although threatened with the scalpel, Marcus pleads his innocence, alleging that he was duped by the Duchess into believing that Uma had chosen Sun over him. Disbelieving his story, Uma probes him about his financial gains from the scheme, and Marcus responds, and when contacted by other guards, he denies having seen anyone, providing a slight cover for the fleeing girls. Uma and her replica part ways with Marcus and reclaim the locket in the process. And then, Uma comes face to face with the girl who'd undergone extensive plastic surgery to become her exact replica, preparing to take her place at any moment. Named Anna, this girl accepted this job out of desperation. She was an orphan working grueling hours in a factory to provide for her brothers, and in a twist of events, Uma and Anna, her replica, managed to escape in a rowboat. But Anna confesses that she no longer can revert to her previous life, leading both of them to devise a new plan. The narrative then rewinds to the opening wedding scene between Uma and Sun, shedding light on the unexpected revelation. The bride initially seen was not Uma but Anna. Uma, poised in their matrimonial bed, plays the perfect role of her polished self, ready to seize her opportune moment. As Sun tries to commence on the lovemaking, she lands a lethal blow on him, executing her revenge for her father's demise. When Anna steps into the room, she was not surprised at the sight of the lifeless body of Sun, as she was part of this plan all along. From the balcony, she bids farewell to Uma, and then lets out a scream as if she just discovered the whole thing. And while Uma was upstairs executing her revenge on Sun, Anna established her presence among the guests downstairs. This strategic move provided a solid alibi, effectively deflecting any potential suspicion. And in the fallout, Anna seizes the opportunity to step into Uma's shoes in high society, and she now owns her husband's wealth and savors the splendid life once beyond her reach. And on the other hand, Uma finally gets to live a free life without any expectations and societal burdens, and she embarks on a journey to forge her unique path, breaking free from the shackles of her past and the constraints of her former identity.